Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a huge, huge treat for you. On the phone right now, we have the more colorful half of the dynamic duo, the one and only boy wonder, Mr. Burt Ward. Burt, thank you very much for taking time to speak with us today.
Well, hello, citizen.
Now, you're going to be here at Wizard World, so we managed to snag an interview with you. I was going through your bio, and the first thing that jumped out at me, you were listed in Strange as It Seems magazine as the world's youngest professional ice skater at the age of 3. I'm working on fine motor skills.
No, I started at age 2.
2?
I didn't wait that long till 3.
That makes me feel even worse about myself. How did something like that happen?
Well, my father actually owned a traveling ice show, and I guess he figured he wanted to start me off young, so I started training at a year and a half, and by 2, I was in the show, working, and still trying to fight heinous villains.
Wow. Now, how long did you do that for?
Oh, I think probably 3 years, and then my father sold the show, but it was great experience, and I actually remember parts of the performance that I did. It's really strange to be able to remember that long ago.
No kidding. Well, you've got a great memory because I saw that you're also a speed reader. You can do 30,000 words in an hour with 90% retention.
No, it was 30,000 words a minute.
A minute.
I was actually clocked as the world's fastest reader with 90% comprehension. It's the equivalent of reading the entire play of Macbeth in 1 minute.
Wow. I don't, and again, that just, you keep making me feel worse and worse about myself. I got, C's and D's in high school. But now you...
Only insecurity complex.
Now, you had a lot of physicality you brought to the role as Robin. You were a black belt in Taekwondo and karate. You did football and track and wrestling in high school. I went on YouTube, and I pulled up your screen test for Robin. And that was, they said, do a couple falls for us, and then you said, I'm going to show you a couple throws. And there's a voice off camera that says, well, do you have someone to work with? And you said, yeah, Paul, come over here. Who was Paul? Did you bring a cousin or a friend?
He was a good friend of mine at the time, and he was he had studied judo for many years, so we actually, had a chance to, work out and spar together. And it was, it's good to have someone to work with because it keeps you sharp.
Sure, yeah. I didn't know if it was the guy who brought coffee to the auditions and you decided to throw him around, or if you actually had a friend on set. I wasn't sure.
Oh, no, he was a friend, and he was very good at judo. So, no, he if anybody was going to get hurt, it probably would have been me.
It was pretty cool. Now, and speaking of the TV series, I know that you started out, you were 350 per week, and it kept going up from there. As a 21-year-old, this is your first acting gig. Did you just go wild and blow the money on elaborate things, or were you pretty responsible with it?
Well, no, I've always been a responsible person, but let me just tell you, when you're working 14 hours a day, okay, 6 days to make 1/2 hour, and you do 120 half hours, and you work on the weekends, I mean, there's no time to go out and do anything.
That's true, yeah.
In fact, what's really amazing is that all through the years, even after the series ended, I still work 7 days a week.
Huh. So that's just you then. That's your work ethic.
Exactly.
Cool. Now, they had it. We're going to renew it for that 4th season, and it turns out that the offer was withdrawn because the whole set had been destroyed. Did anybody stop and think, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this? Maybe we shouldn't get rid of all this stuff just yet? Or was it just kind of one of those things that happens and that's it?
Well, no. What was happening was Batman was a very expensive show to make. Mm-hmm. And back in the 60s when we made our show, the studio was actually losing $300,000 a week.
Wow.
And $300,000 a week in the 60s is like $3 million a week now.
Sure.
And after 120 weeks of losing $300,000 a week, they actually did the calculation, said, we have enough to rerun this forever. Mm-hmm. So let's cut our losses. And, they're in a business of making money.
Sure.
So It was a money decision. It wasn't anything other than that.
You hear the stories of a lot of stars from that time in the 60s who now there's different things. Everyone has their royalties written in their contracts for residuals. Was that something you and Adam had in that time?
Well, the Screen Actors Guild does provide residuals to its performers. Mm-hmm. However, until 1969, there was no what they called in perpetuity residuals, meaning up until 1969, you got basically paid a small portion of your salary for 10 runs, 10 national runs. Mm. So after 1971, I didn't receive any residuals.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I know that you hear like the stars of Friends, they had these elaborate contracts, like they demanded $1 million per episode towards the end of
Oh,
their
I know.
season. And it's
I know.
just
I
mind
know.
blowing.
And I think the last residual check I got was for 5 cents.
But every penny counts, as they say.
Yeah.
Well, you've got your own special effects and visual effects thing. You worked on Bulletproof Monk, among other films.
Yeah, I did 35 studio features, and I've done actually. I've starred in 40 movies for television, so I've kept very, very active. And of course, I'm very into charity, and my wife and I operate the world's largest giant breed dog rescue. In the last 20 years, we've rescued more than 15,000 dogs, all of which would have been put to sleep. We paid for all their medical. We found them safe, loving homes. And in the course of doing that, we developed a dog food that has actually doubled the lifespan of dogs. Our dogs now, and we have always 45 to 50 in our house with us, are living 18 to 25 years.
Wow.
And running around like puppies in their 20s. Our food is called Gentle Giants. Our rescue is a non-profit charity. We don't get paid anything for our rescue or for our food. And it's all about loving animals and doing something wonderful for dogs. And in fact, I describe what I'm doing as from Caped Crusader to Canine Crusader.
Yeah, my wife and I own a rescue. We rescued a Chihuahua, so not quite as huge as the ones you probably have, but that's a fantastic thing you're doing.
All dogs are wonderful, but we don't just rescue the giants. We actually have 45 different breeds, starting with tiny dogs called Chinese Crested that at full adulthood only weigh 2 pounds.
Wow.
Which is about a third the size of your Chihuahua. So we go from the tiniest dogs to the largest. And every one of our dogs eats our Gentle Giants dog food. And all of our dogs, all of them, are living into their late teens and mid-20s. In fact, right now, I have 17 dogs at our home that are between the age of 13 to 25.
Wow.
17. And so this is wonderful. And, all of your listeners, they should, if they want their dogs to be able to live into their 20s and be healthy, and in fact, we never even take our dogs to the vet except every 3 years for a rabies shot. That's how healthy. They should get our Gentle Giants dog food, and they can read about it at our rescue, which is GentleGiantsRescue.com.
Now, is the dog
www.GentleGiantsRescue.com.
Is the dog food? Do you guys have it through certain distributors, or you get it strictly through the website?
They can get it online, and we're in some stores around the country as well. We're in California. We're in 700 stores, but eventually we'll be all across the country. And the whole concept is that everyone should be able to have their dog live into their late teens and 20s and be healthy and happy, and because dogs love their owners. They give unconditional love. So you had the best day at work or the worst day at work, they love you unconditionally. So we've got to treat them the best way we can. That's
fantastic. Yeah, because my wife and I were saying the other day, we don't know what we're going to do when it comes that time, because they remember your family, and it's heartbreaking that they don't live as long as people do.
And the problem with all dog food in the United States right now is that it's made by very few companies. Even though you think there might be 50 or 60 brands, they're actually made by less than a dozen companies, and all of them, except us, inject massive amounts of fat into dog food to make dogs hungrier. That's why you have to limit how much you feed your dog. But with our food, because it's low-fat, heart healthy, and it doesn't have that greasy outside that all other dog food has, which clogs their arteries and it prematurely kills dogs, ours doesn't have it. So our dog food actually cleanses the intestines and the arteries, and that's why our dogs are living into their mid-20s and still running around like puppies in their mid-20s.
Yeah, I'll post a link on my Facebook page, because I've got so many dog lover friends who would be thrilled to hear they can get longevity out of their dogs. That's amazing.
Right. Well, you know why they say a dog is a person's best friend?
Why is that?
Because dogs wag their tails instead of their tongues.
That makes sense. I always say I like animals better than people most of the time.
But I'm really looking forward to coming to St. Louis. I'm looking forward. Adam West and I are going to be there. We're going to answer all the questions. Everybody that grew up watching us and their kids that now watch us in reruns, they can come and meet us, and we'll answer all their questions. We've got beautiful color photographs from the series. that we can sign for them. I mean, it's going to be a great event for Wizard World, and it's the 4th, 5th, and 6th Friday from 3 to 8 p.m., Saturday 10 to 7, and Sunday 10 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we just want everybody to come out and have the best time. There's so much to see and do. Lots of celebrities. It's going to be a great weekend.
And I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there with bells on, literally. One of the things it struck me when I called you. You sound just like you did on the TV show. It's you. Yes, I think you, Adam West. You guys might have the most recognizable voices outside of like Morgan Freeman.
Right. Well, you know what's so funny is that people say that all the time. They say, you sound like yourself. You look like yourself. I said, well, I would hope so.
Yeah. Who else am I going to sound like? Now,
right.
I know you and Adam West have remained great friends. You guys even teamed up on an episode of The Simpsons and again on an episode of SpongeBob. Now, I know Adam West.
And Futurama.
Oh, Futurama too. That's right. Yeah. Adam West.
We've done a number of shows together. Adam and I are really dear friends. We had the best time together, and it's kind of sad because a lot of shows there's competition between the co-stars. But Adam and I always were great friends. I was a young actor. He was very helpful in making suggestions, and he's just such a nice guy, and he's got a wonderful family, wonderful wife and kids. I mean, he's just an incredibly wonderful guy, and I love working with him. And, of course, when we come to these events, like at this Wizard World appearance, we're going to have a panel where Adam and I, unrehearsed, we answer all questions, and all kinds of unexpected things always seem to come up.
I'll bet.
So it gets pretty juicy.
Right. Yeah, and I was going to say with the voiceover, Adam West is the mayor of Quahog and Family Guy. Why is there no deputy mayor, Burt Ward?
Oh, listen, I'd love to do that. I just guessed it just hadn't happened yet, but you never know what's going to happen next.
That's right. That's true. I read in your bio, too, you used to read comic books as a kid, like Superman, Superboy, and all that. Do you still keep up with the Robin character in the comics?
No, what it was is actually what's really amazing is that where I lived, they didn't have Batman comic books. They had Superman and Superboy.
Huh.
And as a kid growing up, I always wanted to be, like Superboy. So I had, even at 3 years of age, I had a towel that my mother had a clothespin wrapped around my neck, and I ran around and I thought about it so intensely. And, I got to believe sometimes thoughts are things, and maybe that was what prompted me later on to try out for the role. And when I did try out for the part of Robin, there was 1,100 young men that tried out for that role, 1,100. And the reason they picked me, they told me at the time, they said, Burt, the reason why we want you to play Robin is because in our minds, if there really was a Robin, you personally would be that Robin. So we want you to simply be enthusiastic and be yourself, because what you personally are is what we envision a real Robin to be.
That's pretty cool. That's high praise, I think, coming from the people who were behind the show and everything.
Well, yes, and later on, you can see it on the Internet, interviews with the executive producer, William Dozier, who said that in his 35 or 40 years of being in show business and casting many movies for television, that casting Batman was his best casting that he'd ever done in his career, casting Adam and I.
Yeah, I saw they had you and Adam, and they had side by side with Lyle Wagner and Peter Dial, who were also up for the role. And yeah, I mean, now especially you can't picture anybody else but the two of you in those roles. But it was really weird seeing someone else trying to be Batman and Robin.
Yeah, and it's funny because when Adam and I get together, we don't even have to talk. People see us together, and there's this chemistry, and people start laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something unzipped here. I mean, why are people laughing? But there's something magical that happens when Adam and I get together, and that we just, I guess it's such a difference in our personalities, and yet we get along so amazingly well.
Yeah, you mentioned that you guys are almost like complete opposites, and that that maybe helps create the chemistry you guys have.
Well, Adam likes to be very sophisticated. He thinks of himself like Winston Churchill and people like that.
Right.
I'm just more like a down-to-earth kid. You know what I mean? I just never grew up.
Right.
So you put the two of us together, and it's kind of like Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that dynamic really came through on the show, too, I think, which is, again, I think why you guys were perfect for those parts. One of the things I noticed, a quote you had when it was right after Batman Forever came out with Jim Carrey, and you didn't really care for it, and you gave a couple reasons why. my question is, have you seen the Christopher Nolan trilogy that has been out recently?
Yeah, I think all of the Batman films have been magnificently done. And, and the acting has always been very good. Our show was more family oriented.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah.
And as a result of that, we targeted what we did for kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yet, when I think of Batman, and when most people think of Batman, even though the movies have been great and people, speak very highly of the actors, but if you really think of Batman, there's really only one Batman, and that's Adam West.
Right.
I mean, he is Batman.
Yeah.
And he is everything that, that kids personify and think about when they want to be a superhero. And the parts of that I played as Robin, a lot of young kids loved my character because they looked at themselves in the mirror and they say, okay, I'm not 6'4", I'm a kid, but look, Robin, he gets to ride with Batman.
Right.
He gets to climb the walls. He gets to fight the villains. So there was a tremendous energy that kids, enjoyed, that, they saw in my character, and that's why, my character was very popular with kids as well.
And I'm a huge Batman nerd. If you saw my comic book collection, you'd think, how did this guy ever get married? But the one of the things, there was a theory posited that the Batman character brought Robin in as this colorful, shiny target so that the bad guys would take shots at him and he could, be more effective in his crime fighting. Did you guys ever play with that kind of an angle on the show? Like,
no,
no,
we didn't. Robin, Dick Grayson, the secret identity of Robin, was, a ward of the court, which is kind of interesting since my last name is Ward.
Right.
But and therefore it was something that Batman as a charitable person, kind of like gave me a home, and I learned the ropes, so to speak.
Right.
And assisted him in crime fighting. So no, it was kind of a great concept, and we played it very straight. And when we've made personal appearances in costume, we never removed our mask or anything. I mean, as we kept the characters, preserved exactly and stayed in character when we were in costume.
That's a really good thing, because the kids especially, they see you guys, you are Batman and Robin. They don't even think sometimes secret identities or actors playing the role.
Exactly.
Now, with the big brouhaha came out lately about everyone's upset because Ben Affleck got cast as the Batman in the next movie. Do you have any thoughts or opinions, or good luck to him? We'll see how it is.
No, I believe me, I wish him all the best. I think it'd probably be good if he shaved his beard. I don't think a bearded Batman would come over too well with kids. But look, he's a great actor, and from what I understand, I've never met him, but is supposedly a terrific guy, and I wish him all the best.
Yeah, and they've also talked about, there's so many theories with this movie, they're casting a Robin or Dick Grayson as Nightwing character. If they came to you and said, hey, Burt Ward, who do you think we should pick out of this crop of actors nowadays to play Robin, Nightwing, Dick Grayson? Does anyone spring to your mind that you'd like to see do it?
Yes, I do. I have somebody perfect in mind.
And who would that be?
Me.
So you'd be willing to don the...
Let me tell you, when the series of Star Trek ended, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're made maybe 6 Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy were in it, and the fact that they were a little older, who cared? They loved the kids, the parents, everybody loved Shatner and
sure.
Nimoy. So look, what's wrong with Batman being a little bit older and Robin being a little bit older? Yeah, maybe they have to dust off their costumes before they put them on. But I think people would love it.
So
I don't know that that's ever going to happen, but it's a great concept, I think.
I'd be behind it. I think that's a fantastic idea. Now, would you'd totally be willing to throw on, because I know you mentioned in a previous interview that I was reading, you guys had on these very form-fitting costumes. Now they wear all it looks like armor. You'd have no problem whatever costume they throw you into, get back out there.
I think we don't need armor. You know what I mean?
So you're good to go
we
as
like
is.
Being ourselves. Yes, they might have to make a little bit more expandable costumes, but who cares?
and Adam would be down for it too, right? If they said Ben's out.
Oh, he'd be great. Adam, he is so terrific to work with, and he's got a sense of humor that is unparalleled with anyone I've ever met in my life. And it's because of his sense of humor and his sense of timing that he would just be so great, and people would love it, and they'd just go nuts.
I'll bet. Yeah, I have no doubt that would be really cool. I think that would bring so many fans because there's kids from like 2 years old all the way up. My dad watched your show and everything like that, so that
Right.
everyone would be, I think, out to see Adam
I
West and
think
Burt Ward.
from 2 to 92.
Sure, that would be awesome. So I'll try to contact my people at Warner Brothers and see what I can do for you.
Absolutely. We're ready to fight heinous villains wherever they rear their ugly heads.
Good. It's good to hear that the fight will continue.